All right, teachers, I'm going to get started. Thanks for not leaving. You're back. In this session, what I want to do is just some how to do mini lessons on the SEP and the RTC. I'd love to answer questions if you have them right now, but I think I might wait till the end. And if you have any other questions, I'd love to answer them kind of on anything I said before or anything in this next session. Our goal during this time is to really talk about these different dimensions that are now in the TEKS. You can see that I forgot to change the title. But like this is from past, present to future. So what we're going to focus on in this one is how to do mini lessons to teach them the SEPs and how to do the RTCs. So one thing I've learned like the hard way over the last 10 years is if you think kids are going to get better at claim evidence reasoning by practice, they never will get better. Like their reasoning will always not work. It'll just be a restating of the evidence. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but that you have to teach them through well-structured mini lessons on how to do everything. I did some mini lessons in this last session on what does a model have. What Laura put out as I was talking is some different cards. And this is like a fat stack of cards. But in here, what we have is each practice and each RTC articulated. It also has some mindsets that we've been working on. But how would I use these? Let's say my students are struggling with questions. There's a rubric for what a good question should be on the back. And you just teach them a mini lesson on what does a good question have or what does a good explanation have. And so we use these, we call them planning cards when we're planning for work with students. So today what I chose is the two of them that I think are high yield. The two that we're going to work on are cause and effect. I think it's the most important RTC that you could focus on right away. And the other one is systems and system modeling. So how do we model? So I'll run out of time, I always do, trying to go through these. But more importantly, what I really want to show you is like what a mini lesson is and then how to use mini lessons. If you're not familiar with the term mini lesson, it was coined by really good literacy elementary teachers. And so a mini lesson is a targeted lesson to teach you a skill. I did some work with some folks and I really learned the power of like explicit instruction around these different things. And so to kind of like reframe what I said a second ago, if you front load them on the content, then you're not really doing phenomena and you're not doing inquiry and you're not doing the new TEKS. So like if you front load them with content, you're killing the wonder, but more importantly, you're not really doing the TEKS and not preparing them for the new star. So like it's important to make that shift. If you don't teach them the blue and the green, they'll be lost. They have to have your help in what a good model is or what is cause and effect or what is structure and function. So like your teaching has shifted from teaching you the content to now teaching you how to be a scientist. And so for me, I went back and forth on this a long time, but this slide helps me kind of orient it. So you always explain before you explore. So when it comes to the content, which is always the orange, you always explore before you explain. But make sure that you explain. Like make sure at the end there's a lecture on like how do forces work or what is a magnet. But when it comes to these other two dimensions, they're cross-cutting concepts in the NGSS, or you call them the RTCs in Texas, or the practices. Whenever I teach a lesson, I try to dedicate a third of the time to each dimension. So like if I was in a 4th grade classroom, I'm going to spend in 45 minutes, 15 minutes on the content and the phenomena, but 15 minutes on the RTC and 15 minutes on the SEP. Like if you really are going to do 3-dimensional teaching, like put your money where your mouth is. And also for these, you have to explain first. If you don't explain before they do it, they'll just be bad at it, and then you'll reinforce them being bad at that skill. And so always explain before you use it, and targeted mini lessons are the best way to do it. Now, one thing that I've been working on for 3 years is I have a mini lesson for every RTC and every SEP at every grade level. So I'm going to do some up front, just model what the mini lessons look like, but there will always be videos that you can come to later to look at. The only ones I haven't done are, I have 2 more to do on engineering. But when I'm done with that, I'll have them all covered. And so the elements of a mini lesson, and I'll jump into a mini lesson in just a minute. A mini lesson, you always are using a mini lesson, and this is an acronym, to model either a concept or a practice. And so when you're going to do a mini lesson, always choose one of the RTCs or one of the SEPs, and that's what it is. And the kids should know it, and you should know it. You just say like, hey, we're going to do a quick mini lesson on how to ask questions. So they know this is kind of what we're doing. Whenever I do it, I always use an item in my mini lesson. So I always use a manipulative, something that you can take the place of the phenomena. So in a lot of my videos, you'll see me using like household items like gears or a can opener, or just blocks, things like that. And the reason I use those manipulatives is it's simpler. And so if I really ask kids to create a system model of the disappearing forest, it's too complex. So start with something simpler. The next is that you never include science in your mini lessons. So no science. It's not about the science. And then the last thing is you do it as a gradual release of responsibility. So it's a I do, we do, you do. So I'll do it once, then we do it together, and then you'll do it kind of on your own. And so that's kind of my acronym for mini. It also is mini, so it's short. It can't be a 45 mini lesson. It's not a mini lesson, it's just a lesson. So like mini lessons should be short. And when I say 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes for the I do, 5 minutes for the we do, 5 minutes for the you do. So you can't get the whole thing done. But that's kind of like how I've settled on mini lessons. And I found them to be like the most important skill that was missing early in my three-dimensional journey. I just found kids were modeling, but they never modeled the way that they should model. Or same thing with the different RTCs. So the first one we're going to do is cause and effect. And if I could choose one to do, a mini lesson, the next time if you're with students and you're a science teacher in any type, cause and effect, I think, is the most important one. And if I were to do it with sign language, this is the sign for effect. Doom. So you take your two fingers and you just go effect. Effecto. Effect. Effecto. So like that's the effect. So it's just you're pointing. The cool thing is this is the sign language for phenomena. Same one. A phenomena and an effect are the same thing. So like what do we do in science? We look at phenomena and then we try to figure out what causes the phenomena. So cause is you take two dice in your hands and you just roll the dice. Causa, effecto, like cause and effect. And so like that's the key. The weird thing for kids is you go backwards. You look at the effect and then you try to work backwards to figure out what caused it. And so that's the backward bit. This is a lesson we did with some first graders at a school recently. And we started with this as a phenomena. So the phenomena was this. So you can kind of see when you hit the tuning fork on one side, you hear the sound, and then you see the ball moving on the other side. So that would be bad for a mini lesson. It's a phenomena. But what you say is, hey, we're going to try to figure out this phenomena. When we did it, then Laura had the setup and we were doing the same thing. It was important that the kids could feel it too, for them to kind of wrap their head around it. But you always set the setting of like, we're going to try to figure out this phenomena, but for us to understand the phenomena, then we really have to understand cause and effect. And so then you build the mini lesson on cause and effect. And so for this first one, we're going to do a mini lesson on cause and effect. I need a volunteer. I'll give you a raffle ticket. Come on up. Yeah, in the back. Yeah, come on up front. So we're going to do a mini lesson. So we'll do a mini lesson up here, and then we'll do one together, and then you'll do one at the table. So you can kind of practice it. So what's your name? Cheryl. Cheryl, awesome. Come on, sit right next to me, Cheryl. You're right here. Awesome. So lots of times when I do mini lessons like this, I just have the kids all gather around a table because that's how fun teaching is. Like you want them around so you can see it. But for this one, did I forget it was Cheryl, right? Awesome. So for this one, we'll just use the document camera to do it. So Cheryl, you and I, like cause and effect, are you familiar with those terms or not? Do you have any idea what they are? Yeah, what's your definition? I won't put you on the spot too much.
Cause is...
Here you go.
The cause is what causes. the cause is an action that will result.
I like it.
Is an action that will result in some sort of effect.
I like that. So like right now I am hungry. That would be the effect, and the cause is like I didn't eat a good breakfast. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yes.
As an example of that. Awesome. So we're going to do this one together, and you just sit back and relax. All I want you to do is just watch. So I'll do the first one, and then I just want you to kind of model what I'm doing. I'll give you a harder one. Does that sound good? All right. So the first thing we'll do is this is the item that we're going to use. We're going to use just this. So we're just going to use a domino. Whenever I'm teaching cause and effect, I always like to start with a real concrete example. So I'm just going to show you this. And as we do it, Cheryl, don't overthink it. Don't be like, oh, there's a contact force and gravity is pulling it down. Like, don't try to get all science-y on it. That will come later when we're talking about the sounds. You and I are just trying to figure out what's going on in relation to cause and effect. So the first thing I do whenever I'm looking at cause and effect is I write down what happened or what are the events that take place. And so one event that took place was the block fell over. So that's one thing that I saw take place. The other thing I saw take place is I hit the block. Does that make sense, Cheryl? Yeah. So what you write on these little blocks is you write what happened. And so always don't write a thing. Like, don't write block when you're doing this class. Like, always write something happens to the block. So it has to be an event that takes place. So the first thing you do is write down the events. The next thing you do is you try to figure out what the cause is and what the effect is. I'm thinking a really good way to tell what cause and effect is like you said, the first thing is the cause and the second thing is the effect. So I think that I hit the block, that's the cause, and then the effect is that the block fell over. Are you kind of on page with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And then what you do is you always put an arrow between the two. So the arrow implies that the cause leads to an effect. And so if we go through that again, let me just think through the mini lesson again. What do I do first? I write down what are all the events that take place. Then I identify which one is the cause and which one is the effect. And then I put arrows between all the events. So it kind of shows the direction that it flows. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Now you can get crazy with it. You could be like, I don't know, maybe I hit the block and that causes this to roll. So then what I could do is like, that leads to another, does that make sense? It leads to another effect.
Right.
All right, so you ready for one of your own?
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna put Cheryl on the spot, but we're gonna help her, so it's all good. So let's do the next one. All right. All right, so I can grab the mic, and here's an eraser, and those blocks are yours. You can do this along if you want to. I mean, there are little blocks on your table if you want to do this with Cheryl. I'll do the phenomena again, or the manipulative. So I'm hitting block 1, and then block 2 falls over.
But how do I get cause? Because this one caused this, but this one causes that. So
Yeah, so let's write the second thing that happens, and I'll show you.
Okay.
So we could say, I hit the block 1. You know what I mean? We could call this, I hit block 1. Block 1. And then block 1 fell over. Does that make sense? And
Then it would be.
then block 1 hit block 2. Yeah, I like it. So we'd say like, I hit the block 1 and then the block 1 fell over. Is that kind of what it is? Yeah, and then we could even go
Block
like,
1 hit block 2.
and then we could say both blocks fell or something like that. So now if we turn it so they can see it, let's do this. I hit block 1, then block 1 fell over.
Block 1 hit block 2.
2, and then,
2 fell over.
is that kind of fit on the screen?
And I need a lot more causes.
Yeah, so let's check this out and then check our thinking. So what I would say, this is the simple manipulative. This is Cheryl and my cause and effect model of the manipulative. Does that make sense, the difference between the two? So this will take the place of the phenomena, but this is our cause and effect. So what we're thinking is you hit block 1, and then block 1 fell over. So that would be a cause and effect relationship. But then this becomes a cause that leads to this effect. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yes.
And then this becomes a cause, and that leads to that effect at the end. Or we could say this is the initial cause and this is the final effect. But just because everyone, oh, we got to put arrows there. So just because we wrote events and there are arrows, everybody's going to know that this is a cause and that's the effect. Can I teach you a new word? Do you know what we call all of these connected together?
A system?
It's called a mechanism. So a mechanism is all the cause and effect relationships from the initial cause to the final effect. So a mechanism would be this, kind of going forward. And this would be your cause, that would be your effect, and then the mechanism is how they're all connected together.
Okay.
Can we give it up for Cheryl? That was really good. Yeah. There you go. Take a couple. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know how you did on that. If I were to walk around, I'd be like, really good, but don't forget you got to write the word cause and effect and connect it onto if you haven't done that. So like if I were to check your models, really good, make sure it has the word cause and effect on your model. And you could write like cause 1, effect 1, cause 2 and effect 2. Cheryl, we could have done that. Like this is the first cause, second cause. Awesome. Okay. So as you're teaching cause and effect, the key thing that you want them to do is like when we put those ideas on a block, it represents a thing happening. And this leads to something else. Your first models will always not be great because you're just practicing. But you'll get better and better at it the more you practice. So let me give you a harder one. So try this one. So for the next one, I've got this. So this one is going to have cause and effects in it, but it's also going to have branching. So like one thing can lead to other things. And so I start with that. Again, don't get all science-y, like the gray one moves in a counterclockwise position this many turns. Like, don't do that. We're going to get to the science later. But let's just try to model cause and effect in that. I think I've got a video of it. I'll just let this loop so you can look at it over and over. Yeah, erasers here.
Thank you.
Yep. The blocks make it nice because you can just write all the events on blocks before you put the arrows between them. Like, what are the events that take place? Thanks.
The big ones don't stick.
They don't. I like it. I love your events. They're really good. Turn the gray wheel is good. How's it going? Turn the gray, the red moves, that moves. It's good, yeah. And so then you're, like this is a whole mechanism. Yeah, and this would be the final effects, would be like all gears move or something like that.
Yellow.
How's it going, okay? Yeah, this is great. Yep. And then you can even like branch off too, if you want,
I like that.
if that makes sense. They just connect on the sides. It's cool. And then you were adding cause and effect then. I like it. Yeah. What? Those ones? Oh, they're called switchets. I invented them. Yeah. Yeah. How's it going, okay? Turning the gray gear. Yeah.
Like this, would you connect them together?
It's a good question. Yeah, because I don't think this, it's a good question. Yeah.
I mean, because if you turn
Yeah.
the gray one, they're all going to end up moving.
If you turn the gray one, they're all going to move. I like it. Yeah. It is like this one moving plus this one moving does make all gears
They're
move.
not going to
I like
move
it.
on their own unless.
I think so too, yeah. And it'd always be like, if we take this out,
Right, it's still going to flow.
see, I think, yeah, if we take it out, it'll flow this way, but all gears don't move though.
Right, so we would lose, okay.
So that's what I'm wondering about. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, it allows us to make deep thinking. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
And this one. So this is the cause. This is the mechanism.
So yeah. So I would call like the cause is you turn the gray gear, and the overall effect is that all the gears move, but the mechanism is like how do all the gears move? So like this is your initial cause. The final effect is they all move, but the mechanism is all the like relationships in here. So I would identify all of this as the mechanism. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. Teachers, if I could jump in and grab your brains for a second. I think most of us have something like gray gear moves, which causes the orange gear to move, which then branches into the yellow gear move and the blue gear moves. What would I say the cause is? The initial cause is you turn the gray gear. What's the final effect? All the gears move. And then the mechanism would be all of those causal relationships. Does that make sense? Now, to give you an example of this, when I taught biology, I would always teach kids like, oh, natural selection is a mechanism of evolution, but I never taught them what a mechanism is. So like when you're teaching evolution, what's the effect? Evolution. What's the cause? Change in the environment. What's the mechanism? Natural selection. If you're doing motion, that's the effect. What's the cause? Unbalanced forces. Like what's the mechanism? Newton's second law. If you're doing chemistry, like the effect is an increase in reaction rate, the cause is an increase in temperature, but the mechanism is collision theory and kinetics. So like we never teach them the most important thing, which is the word that connects them all together. And why is that more important? Like you ever talk to a scientist the rest of your life, you ask them what they do, just follow it up with, could you tell me the mechanism of that? And they will be so happy. They would love to tell you the mechanism, but you just have to ask the word. So that's why those are important. And then I would also say this, all your models are wrong. They always are. Like models are always an approximation, but they literally are wrong, because let's watch this. Take the yellow out. Trick. Yeah. What do we call this in science? We call that a hidden mechanism. Could you take a second to add a hidden mechanism to your model? What do you think it is? There must be a hidden mechanism somewhere, just to like update your model. Yeah.
Another error?
At this point, words might not suffice. You could just draw what you think it looks like. Try to draw that hidden mechanism. Yeah.
What's the next one you're gonna do? System models? So I can just erase this? Yeah, I can erase, I did that one. I didn't know what. And you're gonna do the music box? No, what are you gonna have them do? Just don't. I was gonna get a piece of sand.
Teachers, if I kill the wonder for a second. Right? So what would be a good model? There would be a hidden gear between the gray and the blue. That would be the hidden mechanism. So whenever I do the mini lessons, I said not to be tricky, but I would want kids the rest of the year to always be like, oh, there must be some hidden mechanism that we can't see. And then the next thing would be, okay, now we'd go to the phenomena and then model what's causing this to happen. Why is it when I hit one tuning fork, the thing moves on the other side? And we won't do that one. I just want to show you kind of, does that make sense how you build to it? In the time it took for you to do that mini lesson and build them, I really think your brains are getting good at cause and effect. Like there's something about these mini lessons and trying it with concrete things that like your brain will grow really quick. But you have to explicitly teach it. With each of these, there will always be a video too where I kind of show you how to do that. So to pimp the website again, let me show you. So it's called The Wonder of Science. But if you were to go under Resources Mini Lesson, there will be a mini lesson for all of these. So cause and effect, cause and effect. It'll be a video with me walking through how to do cause and effect. Hi, it's Mr. Andersen, and this is Thinking in Causation, Level 1, Cause. I see really these two gears. So you can see me doing kind of the same thing. And there'll be like answer keys and things like that that go with each of them. And they're each targeted to like grade levels too. So they build. Your kids all have to start here. Even though you're teaching high school and they should eventually get to causation correlation, most kids kind of have to start at the beginning. So let's go to another one. So let's say we're going to a different phenomena. So the next phenomena is modeling. I kind of did this a second earlier with the Wonder Tube. But I would start with what's called a system model. So we were working with students in Hawaii. And so we were going to do a lesson on energy. And so then the phenomena is this. So I bought a bunch of the hula dancers at the store. And then I put them outside and they're dancing. This is my troupe. This is them in slow motion. This is them at night, still going. Then I took them inside and like, just the ukulele person on the left is going. Then I put them in the freezer. And the one on the right in the back is still kind of going. So like, what would this be? This would be a phenomena. This would be a killer phenomena if you're looking for one just on energy. So it's a really good one to get kids thinking about it. We use it in 4th grade, so it's a way to think about energy. So the idea is that before we get to that, then we do a mini lesson, and that mini lesson is allowing us to understand what a system model is. So could I give another shout out? Another volunteer? I need somebody else to help me out. Cheryl last time. Do you mind coming up? Awesome, perfect. You get free raffles. It's great. All right, perfect. Awesome. And what's your name? Say it again. Coralie. Awesome. Could you hand me that little robot over there? Awesome. Perfect. And I'll give you this. Perfect. So what we're going to do is this. Coralie and I are going to design, or put together this robot. So we've got a robot. So the idea would be, okay, class, in a bit, you're going to model the hula dancers, but I'm going to show you how to system model this dancing robot. Awesome. So as we think through this, whenever you're doing a system model, the first thing you identify is the system. So for us to be on the same page, a system is a human construct. A system is something you define. So you have to say what the system is, and when kids are learning it, you tell them what the system is. Because if they're thinking the system is like the legs, or the table in the robot, or the room, they'll get it all wrong. So always define what the system is. So Coralie and I, let's just say the robot is the system. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So as we try to figure out how this works, the robot's going to be the system. What are some parts that we should include, do you think? And you can feel free to pick it up if you want.
The winding part here.
Yeah, so let's do the winding part in the back. So we'll say, we could call that as like the key maybe. And I could even draw it like, let's see. That just looked like a penis. Sorry about that. Yeah, so let's just not draw it. Okay. What else do we want to include in our system model?
I noticed here that
Yeah.
it moved the little yellow part back here whenever which must be connected to the legs and the arms.
Yeah. So let's almost break it by color. Let's just do, there's the yellow body maybe. So we'll say yellow body, and then I'm going to say a part of the yellow body would be the belly button.
Yes.
And then is there one on the back or not?
There is.
And so let's call that the back button. So I don't know if you can see what I'm trying to do, but I'm trying to show hierarchy. So like the real small things like the key or the back button or the belly button, I'm making those smaller. And so I would say like the yellow body is made up of the belly button, the back button, and there's probably got to be gears in it. Does that make sense? So let's just say gears. What else do you think is important as we look at the robot?
The back part here, which I think causes the arms to
Gotcha.
move.
So let's say the red, red part.
Mm-hmm.
And the red part contains two parts. We'll call it, like on the back, there's like the Y. And then another part of the red part would be the arms. And then anything else, you're doing great.
There's another part on the arms here, like the inner part, which hits the green.
So we could say like a hinge or something like that. Gotcha. And then legs. So we could say the green section.
Yes.
And then the green section is going to be made up of, we'll call the legs. And I don't know if you all can see this on the front, but there's like an H on, it's like suspenders. So there's like an H, and then there's like the legs. And then we've got the key. So these are all the parts that we have. So when you're ever trying to do a system model, the first thing you always do is you try to get what are all the parts. And I'm trying to show hierarchy. So like the big parts that we have is going to be the yellow part, the green part, the red part, and the key. So those are all the parts. Now the next thing we do is once we've figured that out, then we have to figure out how they're all related to each other. And so let's try this. If we turn it, you might have to help me, Corley, but let's try to take those things and we'll put them up here on the board. So let's start with, start with the robot. Yeah. And we'll put the robot here, I guess. This is the system, but we got the red part, the green part, that. You keep doing that. Thank you so much, Corley, and I'll put the little video up. I gotcha. Yeah, I like it. Like this. Awesome. So you tell me how it happens, and I'll put the system together. So what's the first thing you do with the robot? You turn the key. So now I'm going to say turn key. And then what does the key do? It winds the gears. Cause the belly button to move and the back button to move. Does that make sense? So what are you doing when your system doing? Like the first thing you do is you identify what are all the components, and then we have to say how are they all related. So the gear moves the belly button and moves the back button. And also, can you see with the yellow body? I think the yellow body would all be that part of the model. Is that what you're thinking? Oh, we're doing great. Okay, let's keep going then. What does the belly button do? Legs. I got you. So it makes this H part move. So it moves the H, which moves the legs. And then the back moves the Y. And that moves the arms. The hinge is where you showed me, that was your deal. This is kind of the green part, and this is the red part. Does that make sense what a system model is? So like a system model shows how they're all related to each other. The Y moves the hinge maybe in the arm, like that. So if we think about what does a system model have, like number one, you identify what are all the components, and then the next thing is you show how they're all related to each other. We did Corley and I did 2 mini lessons. We did a mini lesson on the hierarchy of systems, what's the big and the small, but then we're also, does that make sense, making a system model. So we're showing how they're all kind of related together. I got to give you raffle tickets. Could we give it up for Corley? That was really good. Here you go. And then what I would do is give you all one to try on your own. So try this one. So first step, what do you do is you say, like, what are we going to call the system? What's the system? That's your first step. Like, what is the system? I would call the system your music box. Let's just say the music box is the system. Combs, I like it, yeah. You just see how I put the system down here, so it's What's that?
There's some places where it will stick. Feel how slippery this is.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like what if we protect?
Yeah, I don't know. Try it. Teachers, I know you don't have a whiteboard, but you can just kind of put them on top of a whiteboard like this to draw the connections when you get to that point. Yeah, you should have a little whiteboard. I was gonna have, if they have questions. Yeah, is that all right? Thanks for doing. It is nice to be able to put it up there. Yeah. You can do this too. How's it going? Okay? Cool. All right, teachers, if I could grab your brains. How is this different than the cause and effect one we did? In this one, we're defining all the components, and we're really digging into what is that relationship between them. So when would I use a system model? If I wanted to show, for example, how energy moves through a system. So the arrow could represent energy, or it could move matter through a system. And so it's really the two types of models, and that's why I wanted to start with those two today, cause and effect and systems. But the key thing is, like, you're all getting really good at it. For me, what was the first hurdle I had to get over? Was like, when I'm modeling, am I modeling events or am I modeling components? And once I got that, then I could go in the right direction. So anyway, I just want to give you experience of this, like what it feels like. I know I just have like 3 or 4 minutes left. Are there burning questions that you might have as I turn off the Harry Potter? Yeah. Oh, and then the last thing would be like, okay, now let's do the hula dancers. So once we learn the skill, and I try to make it things they can see, then move to things we can't see. Like, is it electricity? Is it, yeah. Anna, what do you have for a question?
So I had a question about the comb of the music box. Would you call it a comb and then talk about the multiple lengths of metal as parts of it, or is it just a comb?
It's just a comb, because we don't want to get into science on a mini lesson. You know what I mean? Because it is like the frequency is different and the sound, but then it would be its own phenomena. I liked how the people just wrote a comb, which, you know what I mean? The gear or the tube hits the comb or something. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question though. Yep.
And I
Yeah.
guess it's happened the same on the cylinder, right? You just call cylinder,
Yeah.
not the little.
Yeah, I think if you're doing a hierarchy, you could say that the whole cylinder is a big part and the bumps are a part of the part, which is a part of that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the hierarchy. And when we made these switches are things that we designed during COVID, these little whiteboard blocks. And we did them to start showing, like, this is hierarchy. So you're saying this is the big, small, and smaller. I think in the future, RTCs won't be called RTCs. I think in the future, they'll be called system thinking. Because what we're really doing as we're doing all of this is just system thinking. But yeah, that's the key thing, is that hierarchy. And with kids, I would start with something simpler, like do the hierarchy in your family or a school system, and then do that first. Yeah. Other burning questions you might have? Yeah.
So for life science, would you start with these more like kinesthetic little
Yep.
widget?
Yep.
I don't know what you'd call those
Yeah.
things, but
Yep.
and then relate it to
Yep.
the abstract that
Yep.
you can't see as much.
Totally. Yeah. So like the one I would do right away, because I'm out of the classroom right now, but when I taught biology, the one I would do right away would be cause, mechanism, and effect. Like we're doing that right away. And I'm going to start with a can opener. Like, what's the cause? You turn the crank. What's the effect? It pulls the can, like, lid off. What's the mechanism? And I would have a model that. And then the rest of the year, I would have that cause, mechanism, and effect graphic organizer, and everything we do in biology maps to that. There's a school we worked with in Columbia who that's what they did. All year, it was just, let me see. They used this graphic organizer of just cause, and then a big arrow, mechanism, and then a small arrow for effect. So it's like cause, mechanism, and effect. And I've got graphic organizers like this on the webpage. That's the worst drawing I've ever made. But like, I think you get the point. Then they would just write what is the mechanism in there, because everything in biology maps to that. But like, start with a concrete, because like they don't know what a mechanism is. And I think the tricky part is you all do. I could just see that you all have those in your brain already. And you might assume that the kids have that too, but they don't. I've been in a biology class where half the kids can't properly identify the cause. Like when I put Cheryl on the thing and I'm like, what's the cause and what's the effect? I'd never do that to a kid because they wouldn't know. And it would be embarrassing. Yeah, question?
Well, and that kind of piggybacks on what I was going to ask is, so when you're introducing these to a class, into kind of perspective, I'm an elementary teacher.
Yeah.
Would you recommend kind of you introduce like the little mini concepts
Yep.
when they're going to apply more to what the kind of the end teaching is?
Yeah,
or
when we
you
did
do
this
it
in a
more-
first grade classroom just the other day, so it was like I literally said, this is the phenomena we're going to try to figure out. And we did do you remember the T chart where it's like, what do we observe, what do we wonder? Then we did a mini lesson, and the mini lesson was like this one. of teaching them what cause and effect is. And then we had them model the original phenomena. And Laura, that took us like 45 minutes, that whole sequence. Introduce the phenomena, wonder, observe, mini lesson, then they drew it. Their models were incredible. Like their models in first grade were better than 80% of teachers' models. They're fantastic. Yeah.
The first time we did it, we didn't do that mini lesson first, and we didn't get any results from the students on their models because they didn't understand that we wanted them to come up with a step to a step to a step. And once they had that, and when you would sit and talk to them and say, like, what is your cause and what is your effect, they would be, you can't write all of it, you can verbalize
Yeah.
it. And it was really amazing what those kids could do.
Yeah, and it always comes right before you're going to do it. If I'm going to have a model, the mini lesson is right before they do it. Or if we're going to do a CER, the mini lesson is right before they do it. Because if you do like a unit 0, I hate those at the beginning of the year where you do like a month of not doing anything except talking about the scientific method, they forget it all. So 2 months later, you have them write it, they don't remember any of that. So do it in the minutes before it. That's what I found to be successful. Yeah. Thank you so much for digging in. Any way you could tidy up the tables, it'd help us a ton. Awesome. Thanks.